Hey folks, Zach Osterman here, IU Insider, Indianapolis Star, Mike Niziolek, Bloomington Arrow Times, Indiana 31, Rutgers 31, Indiana 14. Um, we could do a little bit of big picture, but just to kind of dig into the game first, Rutgers is good enough to be bowl eligible on October 21st, so don't take that away from them. On the other hand, they don't hide what they do, they don't hide what they are. They run the ball straight at you, they challenge you to beat them physically. You could not have made the task more straightforward for Indiana in a game that it felt for all the world like Indiana had to win if it was going to retain any sort of control over the course of its season into November. And it is fair to say I can't think of many more dispiriting ways to lose a game like this.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I don't know that you'd say that they have a quarterback that's an FBS level talent to win games for Rutgers. They basically said we're going to run it. He runs it well, but in terms of throwing the ball, I asked you at one point, do they have a pass over 10 yards in the air, and maybe one. It was stop the run, win in the trenches, and don't make any crazy mistakes. Made a couple of crazy mistakes on special teams. Obviously, giving up a punt block that was returned for a touchdown that was sort of, I think, broke the back. Even though they went on to tie the game, it just felt like that was all Rutgers needed to sort of have the mojo enough to win this game, because they just never felt like they weren't in control or dictating the terms. I mean, Indiana went down, scored on their first drive. Rutgers responds with a 15-play, 75-yard drive that lasted 8 minutes. And that they just had no answer to that. They had another one of those in the third quarter. And that was all she wrote. I mean, once you got down 2 possessions, you were just never going to get the ball back enough to sort of win the game in the second half.
And if you watched Friday Rundown, you would have known. I mean, that's what Rutgers does. It's dispiriting in a way that there really just should have been and probably was no mystery. I mean, Rutgers, they capitalized on mistakes, special teams mistakes, turnovers. Indiana didn't actually have an offensive turnover today,
Sure.
but they had the 2 big special teams gaffes. And they keep it pretty simple. They're just really good at what they're good at. And, you could just kind of see the game just stacking on Indiana. I mean, at one point, either late in the first half or early in the second half, Rutgers was doubling Indiana up on snaps, and I think more than doubling Indiana up on time of possession. And I know it's frustrating when you see that, that back end breakdown that leads to the 80-yard touchdown run by Gavin Wimsatt, that quarterback you were talking about.
That was 3/4 of the making almost.
You're breaking it. It's a breakdown because you've lost a couple of key pieces at the back end to injuries or to the targeting disqualification, and your guys are exhausted. And even Indiana's offense, Brendan Sorsby flat out said a couple of times post game, we can't do that because if we can't do it, we're not helping our defense.
Right.
There was just complimentary football was non-existent today.
Well, then the offense, you look at it, you're looking for progress, obviously. But I mean, it's hard because Brandon Sorsby, get back in the lineup. It's his job, and then it looks like a quarterback that's only playing in his second career start, or making a second career start. It looks like a guy that you probably want this to happen in game 2, game 3. This is week 7, and he's going through. He has the nice opening drive, and then things fall apart. Having problems with timing, accuracy. He even said in his post-game press conference that he wished he had a couple throws back because they were guys that he had open and he just missed the throws. And week 7 you shouldn't be having this discussion. I thought it was notable that Tom Allen didn't commit to a quarterback after the game. Essentially said that. Well, I mean, am I wrong in that?
Somebody said
is Sorsby
quarterback for the rest of the season,
and he said no.
What I meant was for the
which is
we
not
rotate in this game,
right? Which is not what he said. But either way. Again, opening the door for Dexter Williams, maybe, but because they're just not getting production. I mean, the offense is sort of stuck in neutral. The lone play they have was the touchdown to Omar Cooper early in the game, and that was on a blown coverage because he scrambled out, and one of the better safeties right now in the Big Ten, Flip Dixon, just left coverage, and he was wide open. So, not that you don't get credit for making that play, but it's not like that was a play designed, how it was.
And that also wasn't. India took the lead. It's only lead the game on that play, but that wasn't.
It's not something to build off of a repeatable
it wasn't
moment.
reflective of some sort of control of the game. Right?
Right.
I mean, the way
that's what I'm saying.
Was. I guess just bigger picture, and we won't go crazy into this whole podcast at some point about this, if not tomorrow, then early next week. But Indiana's 2-5. They're 0-3 in the Big Ten. They're guaranteed, I think, at this point, to be the underdog in every game they play from here on. And Tom Allen is to his credit, always been a fairly honest quote to the media. At very least, sort of when he doesn't want to be honest, he'll tell you he just can't tell you rather than just flat out lying to you. He faced pretty head on how sort of low morale kind of is right now. I don't know what you do if you're Indiana at this point. You've tried a lot of things. I mean, almost to the point of perhaps, frankly, suffering for your trying when you talk about the quarterback situation and things like that. This was the game it felt like you had to win, both stylistically and also because of the path that would still leave you open in November on the other side of Penn State and Wisconsin to make something at the end of the season. To lose this quietly, I guess, for lack of a better term, it just feels like Indiana's kind of out of ideas. It feels like Indiana's got questions and no answers.
Well, when Tom Allen gets up at the end of after the game and says, I don't have answers for how to sort of, we just got to fight, but I don't really have the answers to why this is happening or, why we're at the stages we're at. I mean, it's almost waving the white flag a little bit in essence. You can fight all you want, but if you can't stop committing mistakes, you can't
fight without togetherness and collective identity.
Guys in the position to win
is just sort of flailing.
Yeah, so I thought that was telling, just the tenor of his comments after the game, where it's like, he didn't point to progress they're making because they're really not making any progress, and that's, I think, is a big of an indictment on the coaching staff as there is, because if this staff is going to survive, even with a bad record, which I think they could have done, they had to show progress, and they're moving backwards, essentially. The defense looks much worse than it did 7 weeks ago, and the offense has not done anything. It's stayed in place, essentially. And then obviously special teams was a disaster today. So, I mean, what can you point to that says that this is in good shape, or what can we lean on? And it's pretty dire, because it is. I mean, look, they only had the ball 20 minutes today, 22 minutes.
Yeah. No.
I mean, what are you going to do?
It's hard to. I mean,
against the team, the talent gap is much better, much more equal than it is against last week
Michigan,
or next week.
Yeah. No.
So that's, I think, the biggest concern, that if you're in the bigger chairs, upstairs, downstairs, across the street, wherever the AD is or the president is, it's like you look at those games. These are the ones where you're supposed to be on an even playing field somewhat, and they got blown out at home. I mean, blown out, maybe not the score-wise, but it felt like blown out. The equivalent of, what is it? It's the equivalent of a blowout in the score.
They lost by 17. They lost by 3 scores at home.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
To a team that attempted 12 pass attempts.
The host rules, it's fair. I'll go with fair. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. We'll leave it there for now. Again, we'll be back. I mean, we'll have plenty of coverage from this. We'll also be back either tomorrow night or early next week. Put a podcast together, just kind of trying to talk some of this forward. But yeah, Indiana 2-5, 0-3 in the Big Ten. An ugly loss and just kind of an ugly direction for this program. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.